can get thumbs up. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's just wait a few seconds before we get started. Ray, thank you for being on the call. Patricia, thank you. Christy, good to see you. Thank you for being on the call. Chris Rivera, my man, is on the call. Joanne, thank you for being on the call. Julia, thank you. Love your blouse. It looks like an orange blouse there. It looks great. Yeah. Nicole, thank you for being. John, good to see you. Thank you for being on the call. I see Florentine. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for being on the call. Kristen, Christy, thank you so much for being on the call. Betty, thank you for being on the call. Laura, and obviously my staff is on here. Bob, how are you? Good to be on the call. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're going to wait a few seconds before we get started. We got lots to cover, and then I have a phenomenal guest speaker talking to you guys about ADUs. Did I say that right? ADUs? Yes. Kind of reminds me of an old commercial back in the 80s. Additional dwellings, you know, conversions of garage, you know, and how you can use this as a platform to help your clients with positive cash flow, you know, on their property. So we're going to have Florentine talk to you guys. We also have Chris Rivera going to be giving us some mortgage updates as well. And like always, Sonia giving you the tech tip of Wednesday on command. So let's just wait a few more minutes before we get started. Wendy, thank you for being on the call. Kayoko, thanks again for being on the call. Christy, good to see you. Thank you for being on the call.
Florentine is great. Her training is wonderful, superb. So you're going to enjoy that.
What's it? I didn't hear that. Say that again.
Florentine training on ADU. I attended last week. It was great. Very educational. So you're going to enjoy that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. I see Sonia. Hey, Sonia. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So again, happy Wednesday. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for being our sales meeting. So let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. All right, like always, our mission and value. Keller Williams South Bay will become the #1 brokerage across all brands in the South Bay and its top-tier market center within the KWRI by attracting, creating, retaining cappers through our positive, effective culture. As a result, we will profit share over $500,000 annual. Our KW South Bay values: 1, caring; 2, collaboration; and 3, business building. Those are the cores of our mission and value, guys. You know, we gotta embed that all the time. And it's so funny and ironic, you know, as many of you know, we have our Wednesday mastermind, and we were, you know, talking about the miracle equation, and some of the cores that we were talking on the book were in calibrations to our affirmations. If you guys remember, prior to COVID-19, we were having our sales meeting here, and they were jam-packed. You know, we had about 60 plus people here in the office. And one of the things that I would always do was affirmations. You know, I'm a warrior for my family, you know, stuff of that nature. You know how important it is, but also our mission and our value, you know, amongst the KW South Bay, you know, caring, collaborations. And we are a phenomenal market center. I'm blessed to say that we have some of the most amazing agents in the industry. Hard workers, phenomenal, humble, and dedicated to their business and to their clients. So I'm so grateful that I align myself with phenomenal leaders like yourself. All right, next slide, please. All right. Yeah. Office is reopening. Thank you. Oh my gosh, 3 months that I've been cooped up here in this office, you know, with my staff. I miss you guys. I literally miss you guys. So with that being said, we are reopening the office come Monday, June 22nd, one day after my birthday. Guess what? 21st, Simon's birthday. Guidelines to the following. Now, obviously, we're still practicing all the necessary measures you know, for the safety of the staff, the safety of our agents, the safety of our clients. Obviously, one, our mask. Wear a mask when you're in the common areas of the office. Washing and sanitizing your hands on a regular basis. I hope you guys are already doing that. You've had literally 3 months to understand the components of washing your hands, okay? Please disinfect the areas before, after use, supplies, or at the front desk. You know, if you're using any of the drop-down computers, the copy machines, or anything, we have stations that we have our sanitizing, you know, what do you call it? Latex gloves and masks, but also sanitizing to disinfect the area as well. Okay, and again, it's really a precaution for all of us. The kitchen, unfortunately, will still be closed until further notice due to the county guidelines. And then we have to adhere to the 6-foot rule, okay? Unfortunately, virtual hugs, okay, elbows, and you know, just keep that safe 6 feet of distance amongst each other. No in-person training. Sales meetings will still be conducted via Zoom, you know, which again, you know, it is what it is, you know, until we see, you know, different from the county or from the state level. And no family members or guest gatherings in the office, okay? So unfortunately, you know, our casino nights, our events after hours are still not in place, okay? But that should hopefully change in the next several months and maybe into the 4th quarter, all right? But I'm very excited for the mere fact that we are opening up the office come Monday, June 22nd, okay? If you have any questions whatsoever, reach out to myself, Linda, Natalie, or Holland, and we can definitely give you more information, okay? All right, next slide, please. Mega Camp 2020 details are coming soon. Get ready to push boundaries, stay connected, and lift your spirits and your business, all without ever leaving your desk. You know, many years ago, you know, I had the honor of going, I think it was in 2014, to my first mega camp, and it was in Austin, Texas. Boy, oh boy, did I have a good time. The energy, the intensity, and what I picked up, all the nuggets that I picked up from mega camp was phenomenal. To see Gary Keller and some of the mega agents throughout the U.S. was exciting for me, and exciting for so many people. I think this year at Family Reunion, there was about 17,000 people participating out in Houston, Texas. You know, yeah, it's quite interesting. With the COVID situation, you know, we were rubbing elbows with so many people. But now we're having Mega Camp. So if you're interested in more details, go to megacamp.kw.com. for further information. Next slide. All right, part 2, a bold pivot, guys. The next session runs July 14 through August 6. Register is open to all in the outside of KW. So if you're interested in joining the bold pivot, this is part 2. You know, please make sure to sign up, okay? It's the summer edition. It's still $99. And as we mentioned on our first bold, on your first transaction, if you close, then we will sponsor and reimburse you your tuition. Okay, awesome. Next slide, please. All right, is Kim on the call? Yes. All right. So Kim,
Here.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And how's everyone else doing? Well, I guess they're muted.
Awesome, Kim. So I know we've been collaborating and talking, you know, through the leaderships and through Zoom meetings. So feed us with some updates on what you're seeing from your standpoint.
Yeah, well, first I want to give a reminder that open houses are not allowed. I have gotten a couple of questions from some agents about whether or not they can do an open house or whether or not you can door knock. It's no, we are not to do that right now. It's still not allowed until further notice, okay? Um, and I was on another webinar earlier and they talked about how the open house feature had been removed from the MLS. So I don't know if anyone has noticed that. But the open house feature had been removed from the MLS, and they're waiting on an update, obviously from Governor Newsom, as far as whether or not when we can start doing open houses again, which will probably be a while. However, there is an option for you to do a virtual. It's actually a live virtual open house. So I don't know if anyone is doing that yet, but they do have that feature available. This is done as an actual event. So for example, you would say that your live open house will be from 9 to 10 a.m., for example, and then it's done as an event. So when people go on, you're there at the property doing, a live virtual open house. That is different from a virtual tour. A virtual tour may be where you pre-recorded a video, uploaded that, or either you had just pictures. Okay, so that's different. So if you want to know more about the actual live open house, you can go on to crmls.org and look at their FAQs on the open houses for that, okay? And then next week, I'm sure you guys are going to be happy about this. We have 2 new forms coming next week and 11 revised forms. Okay, so the two new forms, one is the PVOH, which is Property Visit and Open House Advisory. Okay, so obviously it's going to be talking about open houses. That one, I took a look at it actually this morning, and it's just a half a page, so it's short. And it really just tells the visitor about the risk of open houses. Okay, so the visitor signs that form. And it also talks about recording devices on the property. The other form is SFLS, which stands for the Square Footage and Lot Size Advisory Form. Okay, so this one, the seller signs this form, and then you guys have to send it over to the other side like you do all of your other transaction forms for the buyer to sign as well. That would be included in your file paperwork. And obviously that's talking about the square footage. There's a little bit that would have to be filled out about what the assessor says the square footage is, and maybe what the seller says or whatnot, but it's about the square footage. Now the 11 revised forms, I would say half of them, I believe maybe 5, are landlord tenant forms that include, like your notice to vacate or your, pay or quit forms. So it's about 5 or 6 landlord tenant forms. And then there was a revision to the TDS. Very simple. They added one little box that just talks about no substituted disclosures for this transfer. And substituted disclosures would be like any inspection reports and the NHD, for example. So it's just a box. You either check it or you don't. Okay. And then the last thing is, just to let you guys know, new advertising rules will be coming out July 1st. So they'll be talking about new advertising rules because of everything that's going on. Okay, and that is pretty much what I have right now for an update.
Don't you just love it, Kim, of all these? It seems like every June and December, right? There's always updates, either revisions to the contract or new forms added to our ZIP forms. I just love it, and what's so ironic is that when I started real estate many, many moons ago, the RPA, I think, was like 6 or 7 pages long.
Right.
And now I think with all the additional disclosures, it's like, oh my God. And that's just another 5 years from now, right, Kim? We're going to be bombarded with more added disclosures to the purchase, new revisions to the purchase agreement, added language, delete information. I mean, that's the beauty of real estate. It's a revolving up and down So this is the reason, guys, you need to stay involved and updated with all the current events that we are, providing on top of, Kim's contract classes. And obviously, you all members of the California Association of Realtors, that's where I get the majority of my information through CAR, guys. And whatever they feed us,
Right.
is what we feed to everyone else. So Kim and myself, we collaborate and really just get in tune to what's going on in the state of California, from the state level to our local ordinance and city levels too. So again, if you have any additional questions in regards to any contracts, any issues, Kim is just a phone call away, guys. We're here as a support factor. So thanks again, Kim. Great information. Anything else?
Yes, real quick. Right before the meeting, about 10 minutes, I just posted the list on our Facebook page, the names of the form revisions that they've changed. So
Beautiful.
that is on our Facebook page. And then you mentioned the RPA. I just saw on the CAR website, the draft of the new RPA is there. I've been talking about this for the longest time, telling our agents. So that is for 2021, but that will be coming out, I believe, December. I thought I saw a date of December 20th, right? Because they normally have new form revisions, like you said, are normally June and December, sometimes in October. But you got to jump on there. You can see everything in red. The new revision is different, you guys. You got to see it. First page with all the deadlines and time frames on there, it's different. So, it's coming. I was kind of excited because I've been talking
and
about
that just
that
right now, Kim.
It's like, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just right now, just wait until December. There's going to be new forms. Look at how fast the California Association of Realtors took the initiative and got us all the COVID-19 forms, within weeks, guys, to alter and help us streamline our process in our business. So, Kim, thank you so much. Phenomenal information. And again, guys, use your support team here to navigate some of your questions. All right, next slide. All right, Len US, Chris Rivera.
Hello,
give us some
everyone.
updates.
How
Where's
are you?
Chris? There you are. How you doing?
Good. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you. There's a little bit of a glare, but I don't know if it's the angle of the computer, but that's okay. I mean, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Yeah, I think it's the angle of the laptop and also the light on top, but we'll try to cure it. Hopefully you guys can still hear me.
Absolutely.
It's been a while. It's actually good to be back in the office. I'm glad to see that we're opening up. I can't wait to see everyone's faces. It's an awesome news. But things just had to keep going on, which is great because I've got a lot of good stuff to report. It's been a while since I've done one of my market updates. I'm going to get to it next Friday, so put that on your calendars. I'll give you more information of what has happened in the lending industry over the last month. There's been a lot of changes, which is good, all positive. But today I just wanted to take about 5 minutes, just kind of give you guys kind of a rate update, where we're at, that sort of thing. Rates are still hovering in the low threes. Pretty much across the board. They've all caught each other on purchase money, not refi money, but on purchase money, you're looking at about 3.375 on a 30-year fixed at no points, whether it's conforming, high balance, or jumbo. And that's just with 20% down. You can get lower if you're putting a little bit more down, but we're in the low threes right now, which is just awesome territories. It's really helping to push the market. As you guys know, you guys are on fire. I'm getting a lot of requests for calls for your clients, which is just awesome. Just given what we've gone through over the last 3 months, there's so much pent up demand. People are out there in force looking to purchase property. I don't need to tell you that. We initially thought, people were thinking that values would come down because of the virus. But in fact, it's stabilized and gone up in a lot of areas here in the South Bay. I'm in a few multiple offer situations right now. So there's a lot of qualified buyers. I think I was saying that about 3 months ago, that I felt personally, we just live in a bubble. We have a lot of white collar workers or higher income workers, and their incomes really weren't hurt that much. And it's bearing proof right now when we see so many people out there looking and writing offers. It's helped by these low interest rates. So hopefully we'll just continue to kick butt throughout the entire summer and into the end of 2020. So, everything the Feds have done for us has really helped us in terms of stabilizing our industry. I mean, they came in about 2.5 months ago and started purchasing mortgage-backed securities, and it's worked. It's really helped the interest rates stabilize. They've been in the mid to low threes for the entire duration. In fact, Fannie Mae has come out and announced that rates will probably hover about 3.25 for the remainder of 2020. And they see rates going sub 3 in 2021. So that's where the market is headed with interest rates, which is great for you guys, because that's really going to allow these people or the borrowers to keep purchasing and get into a really good transaction with a great interest rate, something they'll hold for 30 years. Everything is humming. Retail sales are back up. I mean, I know we went through March and then April, which was bad, and then May we kind of rebounded a little bit, and we're seeing retail sales go through the roof. I personally haven't gone out there, but I've heard from my wife that if you go to a store, there's long lines to get in at the retail stores. Then once you get in there, it's kind of packed, but not overly packed. And then you've got long lines to check out as well. So sales are up in all areas, not just retail sales, car sales, just all sales are up. And it has a lot to do with what the government has done. They feel it's just probably a combination of people who were at home, didn't spend a lot of money. They got their paychecks, or they got their stimulus checks, or even if they got unemployment checks. I mean, remember, the government was, the feds, that is, were given an additional $600 per week. So a lot of people were just kind of stashing money. Now, there are some people who got hurt, and I realize that. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but there's a good percentage of people out there who had cash, and we're seeing that in the huge retail sales numbers, which is great. Although we kind of think that that's going to last maybe a couple more months until kind of tapers off. But that's just on the retail side of it. I think in the home sales side of it, we're going to see continued growth and a lot of buyers out there. So anyway, it's all good news. I just want to touch on some things that I'll talk about next Friday. Some really important changes that have come about. Self-employed borrowers, it's going to become very difficult to get them approved. So you want to make sure you pre-pack all self-employed borrowers. Unfortunately, Fannie Mae has announced more stringent guidelines to make sure that their businesses are intact and that they're cash flowing, just like they did in 2017 and 18 and 19, to the tune of getting audited P&Ls, which is really doing your tax returns. So anyway, stay tuned for that. That'll be next Friday. I'm also going to talk about the non-Q1 players. There's a couple that are coming back, which is great, but they're really limited in what they're willing to do. They scaled back loan to values, increased FICOs, increased reserves, that sort of thing. But there are some products that are surfacing again, and that's the bank statement loans. So there is an appetite now for that, barely, but it's good to see that it's coming back. We still do cash out refis. If you have clients out there that are looking to pull cash out of their properties, LendUS does do cash out refis. We're one of the very few outfits out there that do them. I talked to a gentleman today at Bank of America, and those big banks are dying in terms of the loan products that they can offer. They don't do cash out refinances. They won't even do refinances unless the borrower has liquidity in Wells Fargo and Chase. So the big banks right now are kind of still pulled back a little bit. But as a mortgage company, we're nimble because we have a lot of investors that we work with. So we do have those products that are available. I'll talk more about those next Friday. And then just to give you an update on the forbearance, I know a lot of people try to go into forbearance. But actually, we're seeing that those numbers are starting to decline. It's a lot less than we thought it was going to be. And a lot of people that went into forbearance aren't actually utilizing.
Yeah, but great meeting, great meeting. I think
Thank you.
KW South Bay is very lucky to have you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so I am going to talk ADUs today, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're just going to jump right into it because we've got limited time. Oh, you guys are probably hearing my phone going off. Let me turn off my phone here because it's connected to my computer. Hold on one second. We'll stop that buzz in action. All right, there we go. Okay, so all right, it's gonna take you just a minute to die down. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
So anyhow, yeah, any second here. Anyhow, so we're gonna dive right into this. This could be a couple-hour presentation if we stopped and asked questions a lot throughout, but I want to get to the meat and potatoes so that everyone's got, is able to walk away with this valuable information. But what I'll ask is if you have questions, feel free to write them down. And then if we have a few minutes for Q&A, we'll get to as many questions as we can. You can also put them in the chat box. And if we don't get to your questions, that's okay. You can always reach out to me via email. Or phone, and I can answer as many questions as I have, and I'm happy to help with your clients as well. A lot of the business that I get actually comes from realtors, maybe when they're their clients looking to buy a house with an ADU or sell a house with an ADU, or there's an unpermitted unit and they don't know what to do with it and they want to get it permitted, and what does that entail? So I regularly work with realtors, and I'm happy to help you with any questions that you have.
Can I pause you for a minute?
You sure can.
What's an ADU?
That's a great question, Simon. And let me pop right down in here into this slide right here. This is what an ADU is not. How about let's start with that, okay? And it's really funny when these came out on Amazon. I had several friends that emailed me and said, "Hey, Florentine, have you seen this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen it." Why are you sending this to me? They're thinking this is the business I'm in. And I tell people, the tiny house that you're going to get on Amazon is basically going to show up and you're going to get a flat pack of some pre-cut timber and a box of screws. It's not going to be a habitable house that you can live in. You cannot build an ADU for $7,000 or $20,000. This is new home construction. Even when we're converting an existing space, a lot of times there's a lot of upgrade that has to happen to make it a habitable space and to meet California building code. So this is not an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. And so we do want to talk about what it is, because there's a lot of really special leeway that the state of California has given to homeowners to be able to get around some local zoning requirements, local fees, et cetera, to really break down the barriers for homeowners so that they can get this additional housing built. So because of that, it's important to know that there's certain things that quantify an accessory dwelling unit. So if you have a pool house, a yoga studio, a guest house, a backyard office, while all of those might be fantastic, they may not necessarily be an accessory dwelling unit. So real quick, what an accessory dwelling unit is. If you look at definition number 3 here, this is straight from the California government code, but an accessory dwelling unit needs to have a kitchen, a bathroom, sleeping quarters, and its own separate entrance. So if it doesn't have those things, it's not an accessory dwelling unit. Doesn't mean you can't build it. It just means it's not an accessory dwelling unit, and all the great legal updates that we're going to talk about today don't apply. So that's what it is, and that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to just go up real quick, just so you know who I am. I did start this company as a way to create more housing. So that's what I'm up to. You guys are all realtors. We have got a major housing crisis going on, and we need more properties. So I'm going back to my construction roots. I actually got my start in construction when I was 14. That was my very first job, working with my dad. And by the time I was 18, I had done everything on a residential house, from foundations to final finishes. And I just say that because a lot of times, people know me in a professional realm and a professional background, and maybe don't realize that I know a thing or two about construction as well. All right, so just as an FYI, accessory dwelling units, ADUs, they can be attached to a house, they can be detached from a house. You can convert an existing structure like a garage. you know, or you can convert existing space within a house. You can take a house and convert a portion of that to become a second unit, called an accessory dwelling unit or a junior accessory dwelling unit. So just to give you an idea about the regulatory landscape, you guys don't need to know all of this. I created this slide a little bit to overwhelm your senses, to say this is all the different governing bodies that have a say-so when it comes to ADUs. So there's a lot of information out there, and all of that information interplays with each other. And a lot of times I get questions from people and they say, you know, the state says this, but my city says this, and the county says that, and the utility company's saying this. So what is it, Florentine? What trumps what? When all these different regulatory bodies are at odds with each other, what can I do on my property? And that's really what I do, is I try to make it simple. We do a lot of the research for clients to be able to tell them exactly what they can do on their specific property. So today, I'm not gonna, you know, a lot of times I get questions in the chat field of people trying to give me the scenario of their property, and probably I'm not gonna be able to give you an answer without doing some research on your specific property to understand the zoning and exactly what can be built there. But I do wanna give you an overview in general so that you guys are really armed, and you really are able to educate your client, answer their questions, and steer them in the right direction for topics that have to do with accessory dwelling units. It is a really big thing in the state of California right now that we're trying to create housing. And so pretty much almost every property that has a single family dwelling on it can add at least one additional unit, sometimes two. And then multifamily properties can, we're going to get to that in a minute, but multifamily properties can add multiple accessory dwelling units, even if it, and they don't count towards the zoning. So if the zoning allows for 4 units on a property, these accessory dwelling units don't add to that. So if there's already 4 units, you can still build the accessory dwelling units. So let's talk a little bit about some of these requirements and some of the requirements that have actually gone away. So owner occupancy, and let me actually back up before we get into all the details. One big thing I want to say that I think that really helps clarify things for people. If you hear nothing else, hear me say this. The state law, which is what we're going to be talking about today on accessory dwelling units, it doesn't govern homeowners. It governs cities and local municipalities who are going to tell homeowners what they can do related to accessory dwelling units. So and that's where a lot of times there's confusion. So the state is basically saying cities or counties, if you have an ADU ordinance, here are the parameters that it has to fit within. Here are the guidelines that it has to meet. If you do not have an ADU ordinance, people still get to build ADUs, and they just get to use the state standards, which in most cases, the state standards are going to be far more broad and accommodating than what a city would come up with. And then the state also says, if it has a local ordinance, but their ordinance doesn't comply with the state standards, it's basically null and void. It also provides requirements for how long cities have to approve plans, et cetera. But then we really have to go to the city to determine what can we do in that particular city. But let's talk for a minute about the state. So owner occupancy requirement has been eliminated for the next 5 years. So that means single family, multifamily property, doesn't matter, is not required. So as of January 1st this year, the phone calls that I've been getting previously were all homeowners. Now I'm getting a lot more phone calls as of January from investors who are wanting to know what they can do with their portfolio and what projects it makes sense to add ADUs onto, which are better, which are worse. So that's been really exciting. Investors are very excited. This is probably the best real estate play because you can build a unit for so much less than what you could buy units for because you're not paying for the land cost. You already have the land. So it's an amazing play for an investor. The returns are just phenomenal. What type of zoning allows for ADUs? Basically all residential zoning. So single family, multifamily, you can build an ADU. I will note though that the guidelines for building a multifamily are different than a single family. And I should also just note that when we talk single family, multifamily in the ADU world, it's a little bit different than how we talk about it in the real estate world. So let me just explain this for a moment. In real estate, we're looking at how's a property zoned. If it's zoned multifamily, it's a multifamily property. In the ADU world, that's not the definition. So in the ADU world, a property will fall under the multifamily guidelines and criteria if the property has 2 or more units on it and those units are attached in a single building. So if you had a property that had 2 units on it, but they were detached from each other, the single family ADU guidelines would apply to that property. So it can get a little bit, multifamilies can get a little bit tricky. I almost always recommend people hire me to do the research for them because it can get a little bit tricky. Now with single family, if you have a property that's zoned, let's say it's zoned R2, and it has a single family property on it, you can still only apply the single family guidelines to that property. I just did a consultation in the city of Inglewood last Sunday, and there was a single family property on an R2 lot, and we basically determined that we could max out, I think, 5 units on that property. So I'm going to show you in a minute how that's possible, how we can take this one property and turn it into potentially 5 units. And we'll get to that here in just a moment. Okay, so how many can be built on a lot? So this is where we start breaking out that single family. If it's oh, you know what? You guys don't have my full view. Let's give you my full view. How's that? Is that better? Is that a better view? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so for a single family property, typically you can have 1 ADU and potentially 1 junior ADU. You can potentially have 2. It depends on if the ADU is attached to the main house, then that's all you can have. But if you have a detached ADU, then you can also have a junior ADU within the existing house. Junior ADUs come with a lot more restrictions, and they can only be up to 500 square feet. They have to be built within the existing footprint. But the biggest thing for realtors to know is that a junior ADU requires owner occupancy, and your client, as part of the permitting process, will be required to have a deed restriction placed on title saying such. So when you go to sell a property that has a junior ADU on it, the buyer is going to have to be someone who's planning to owner occupy. So that's a little bit tricky thing, and I typically always try to steer people away from junior ADUs, to be honest. There's other solutions to helping people max out their income, and sometimes it's a good play. There have been a couple cases where I felt like it was a really good play, but other times there's typically better strategies. You'll hear a lot of people talking about how, oh, everyone can turn their single family into a triplex. Not really, not exactly. There's a lot of restrictions that come with this junior ADU that you probably want to watch out for and warn your clients about, so that they don't end up getting a surprise several years down the line when they go to sell their property. All right, now let's talk about multifamily, because this is where it gets really exciting in terms of what you can build. So with multifamily properties, any multifamily property, you can add up to 2 detached units. They can only be 16 feet tall in height, so that pretty much means they have to be single family or single story, but you can add up to 2 detached units. So whether it's a duplex or it's a 200 unit property, you can add 2 additional detached ADUs. In addition to that, you can also convert existing non-inhabited space within the structure. You can convert that into an ADU. So every multi-dwelling, there's more than 1 unit in the building, you can add at least 1 ADU out of space that is non-occupied. That means storage area, laundry facility, garage, if it's attached to the structure, you can convert into ADU. And you can do this with up to 25% of the units. So if you had a 20-plex, you could potentially add 5 ADUs within the existing structure if you had enough uninhabited space. And you could add your 2 detached units. So for the project I was just telling you about that I visited on Sunday, here's what we determined. This property is zoned R2, but there's only a single family property on it. So for this project, if they just left the current house as is, they could add 1 ADU. They're not planning to own or occupy, so no JADU comes into play. They could basically end up with 2 units. what I talked to them about doing though, the back end of this property had a really, really large master suite. And it was right next to a pretty big laundry area. So what we talked about is, hey, what if we took this really big master suite plus laundry area in the back of the house and converted that into a second unit? So we're basically taking the single family property and turning it into a duplex. Now that it's a duplex, now that it's a multifamily property, we can do a few things. It has a really large 900 square foot garage in the back, garage with added on space. So now we can take that space, divide it in two, and have that be our 2 detached ADU units. And then in addition to that, what we're talking about doing is when we convert that back space, we're going to also add some uninhabited space onto the project. So we're going to add, we don't know yet if it's going to be garage, storage, et cetera. We have to do a few more calculations and see what makes the most sense for that property. But basically we're going to build out uninhabited space that we can then convert into an ADU. So it'll be a two-step zoning process, but ultimately this client will be able to get potentially 5 units out of this 6,600 square foot lot in Inglewood. So anyhow, so that's just an idea of what can actually be built. And I know people have questions. Simon, you're probably getting questions about this already in the chat because people always have a lot of questions about this, and it sparks all kinds of ideas. I know everyone's probably has properties that they're thinking of, whether it's properties you own or client's property. You're probably getting all kinds of ideas about what can possibly be built. And I'm totally happy to help you guys with that. But I want to make sure I give you a few more tidbits before Simon boots me off the call here.
I will not boot you out.
I know. I like to be mindful of time because I know people have things to do. So
absolutely.
I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, but I want to give you guys as much value as I can here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, and I respect the agent's time too. You know, we try to condense things within 1 hour, and we're just around that time frame. So, yeah, there's a couple of questions here.
Can I keep going? Can I keep going, Simon? If we get into questions, trust me, this can be a 2-hour presentation. Let me real quick, and I don't know if there's a way for Natalie to maybe capture all the questions, because I'd love to be able to get back to everyone with, hey, here's the answers to all your questions, even if it's in an email after the fact, so that we can honor people's times and also get questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a capability that we can do through Zoom to capture all the Q&A, and then we can email them to you.
That'd be great. And I'd be happy to answer everyone's questions, and everyone can get the answers all together. So maximum size allowed, it varies by jurisdiction, how big you can build, but the state parameters say you can build up to 1,200 square feet. Local jurisdictions can set maximums, okay? But they cannot set a maximum size that is less than 850 square feet or that is less than 1,000 square foot for an ADU with more than 1 bedroom. So that's pretty much your max size. Now, the local zoning could apply. So you could have restrictions based on lot coverage, floor area ratio, open space requirements that could, even though you can build up to that amount, could actually, for your specific property, make it so you can limit how much you can build. However, regardless of the local ordinances, or excuse me, the local zoning, regardless of the local zoning, people can build up to 800 square foot, period, no matter what. So that's the really, really good news. And then if there's no local ordinance, they can, people can build up to 1,200 square foot on their lot. So I know this is going to bring up a lot of questions, and it gets a little bit tricky, but I'm happy to cover that on a case-by-case basis. So we just mentioned this about irregardless of lot size, floor, lot coverage, floor area ratio, et cetera, you can build your 800 square foot outside of all of those parameters. And let's see, for an ADU that is attached to the main house, it is limited in size to 50% of the main house. So first, this can impact smaller houses. Sometimes it makes more sense if you want to build bigger, just to detach that ADU. Okay, parking. Now this is a really big one. Even though parking is required for ADUs, there's exceptions. that allow most ADUs to not require parking. And the big one is if you're within a half a mile of a public transit stop. But also, if you want, this is just new as of this year, if you want to convert a garage into an ADU, you do not have to replace the parking for that lot. And this also goes for multifamily. So if you have an 8-unit complex and you want to take those 8 single car garages and turn that into an ADU, you do not have to replace the parking from that garage. In addition, if you were to demolish a garage so that you can build an ADU, you also do not have to replace the parking. HOAs can no longer prohibit ADUs, so they are allowed in HOAs as long as the person has the land, right, to build on. So if you're in a townhome or a condo, you can't necessarily build an ADU out on the common shared property. Sided rear setbacks can be no more than 4 feet. So that gives us a lot area to work on. If you're working with an existing structure, if you want to convert a garage, and let's say it's set back only 2 feet from the property line, that's okay. As long as the garage is permitted as a garage and it's permitted to be where it is, we can go ahead and convert it, not a problem. Yep, so that's exactly that. And then approval time. So planning departments are supposed to get those plans approved within 60 days. Since we've been in COVID world, it has been taking a little bit longer in some municipalities. So that's something that we're just having to work with, unfortunately. But in jurisdictions where they do not have an ordinance, if they do not approve those plans within 60 days, they're deemed approved. So that's the really good news, is planning departments can't take forever to get the plans approved. They gotta pick it up, and or people can start building without their permits. Development and impact fees, as long as you're building less than 750 square feet, you're exempt from all development and impact fees. So this is huge savings. I will say not all of the cities are aware of this though. So people are still getting charged these fees. And that's really where we come in, as we're, taking the plans through the process. We're watching out for homeowners. We're making sure that they're not getting charged these fees that they should be charged. If it's over 750 square feet, the development impact fees are proportional to the property. So they're still being fair with those development impact fees and trying to make them less of a burden. That's where we're going to stop it. There's more that I could present, Simon, but I do want to be conscientious of time. I will say this, I'm going to be teaching next week at South Bay Association of Realtors and take all of these legal updates and putting them into practice. So we'll actually be talking about really important things like, okay, you've got a buyer who's looking to buy a property with an ADU or good ADU potential. How should you approach that? What are the things that you should be looking out for? How do you protect your buyer? And then, you can also hire us to come, I do a consultation. It's normally $300, but for realtors and for your clients, I do it for $250. So when you're getting inspections and things done, if this is someone who's buying a property with an intention to build an ADU, definitely have me come out and I will do the consultation for them and let them know exactly what they can do on that property, what the parameters are. And then at the upcoming SBA South Bay presentation, we'll also be talking about listings and what are the big things you need to look out for with listings. The big thing, of course, is going to be the appraisal. Appraisals are all over the map, and that can really be what causes you a little bit of problem with properties that have ADUs. It's just because the appraisal world hasn't quite caught up with us yet. But there is some really exciting new things that have been developed that I really want to be able to talk to people about that are really helping with appraisals. So I can help people out with that as well, and helping you figure out how do you actually value this property with the ADU. What is the difference when it's permitted versus unpermitted? How do you get an unpermitted property permitted? All of these things we'll be talking about at the next the class I'm doing next week. So if you want the real practical hands-on, definitely register for that.
What day is it on?
It is on. See, now I've shut my phone down, so I can't tell you. But I think it's next Thursday. I think it's next. Is it Monday. Next Thursday? What's that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's next Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, it's next Thursday. I think from 11 to 1. It's either Thursday or Wednesday, but I think it's Thursday.
I think it's 11 to 1.
So, okay, perfect. if you want a little bit more of a less brisk version of what we just talked about, Wendy Holt also is going to be having me on Monday to do a presentation for her group as well. I know she has quite a following. We'll have more time. We'll have an hour instead of 20 minutes to digest all of this, and we'll be able to field a lot more questions and talk more about the project and what the process and what does it cost and what are some things to think about, etc. So,
Florentine, what we could possibly do for our KW agents, we might have you come back and do a full-blown presentation to our group exclusively on ADU.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll have my staff, I'll reach out to you, get a date that works for both.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
I love it. I love it. No, it's really good stuff. And I mean, I have agents that come back and come back and come back. They keep taking the classes because there's so much to know, and it's just so relevant right now. Everyone's ears are perked up about ADUs. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I just want to say this too, Simon. Usually at the end of my classes, I like to say, hey, if anyone wants this information, all of the slide information condensed as a resource, give me your business cards. I'll get this information out. And everyone in the room gives me their business card. And we don't have the capacity to do that. I'm just wondering if maybe we can get the people on the call, if I can just, get everyone's contact information and get this information out. Maybe if someone doesn't want to be contacted, if someone's like, I do not want ADU information from Florentine, count me out. Maybe in the chat box, you can just say, Simon, please don't have Florentine send me anything. But I know most people really want to get their hands on this information. So it'd be really great if I can, get this information out to everyone, if that's okay with you guys.
No, absolutely. I will definitely get that over to you. There's a platform on Zoom that I can get all the participants, and then we can get you all the information. So absolutely.
Perfect. I know everyone always wants my slide deck. They're like, please, we want to be able to reference this information 3 months from now when we've got a client who's wanting to do an ADU. So
beautiful. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Valuable information. She did provide you with 2 events, one at the South Bay Association of Realtors. The other one was with Wendy Holt. Take full advantage if you want to get additional information. We will have Florentine back at our office with a full-blown training, really give you a more perspective view on ADUs and help you in any way to help you build your business. So again, Florentine,
awesome.
KW, thank you so much for your time. And
awesome. Thank you, Simon.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right, I'd like to, be mindful of the time. I know we're a little over our time, but let's get our affiliates real quick on the call. Just a 5-second shout. Let's start with, where's Nicole? Nicole, I thought I saw Nicole Romero. Nicole.
Hello. Hi, thank you very much. Very valuable information. Nicole Romero with Pacific Coast Title. And great seeing everyone today. And just also a tip, joining Pacific Coast Title, we have Title Tuesday each week. Holland will have the information. And so I do have some backlogs of our previous recordings. So if you're interested in 1031 exchange fill, let me know, or tax. That one was good. That was on different entities. Nicole Romero with Pacific Coast Title. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. Who else? Ray, Elite Home Inspections. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Ray Gaslam, Elite Group Property Inspections. Love you guys. Thank you, Simon. That's it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you very much. Mindy, my NHD, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for a fabulous meeting and great valuable information, Florentine. I just want to remind everybody that the NHD report is mandatory on all transactions, and my NHD has been that first drop-down box in partnership with CAR on your zip forms for over 9 years. And we have never had any issues on a report for 26 years. So we keep you safe and protected. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mindy. Who else? Wendy Hope at Snap NHD.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is well. Again, thank you so much for supporting me during this time. I really, truly appreciate it. And also, like Florentine and Simon said, Florentine will be doing a class for for the masses on Monday. So please register, follow me on my Facebook page, and you can get the link and register through there. But other than that, always remember Snap NHD for all your NHD needs. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day and take care. Be safe.
Awesome, Wendy. Thank you very much. Joanne, how are you? Good to see you, sweetie. How are you?
Hi guys, I'm great. Joanne Gallon, Orange Coast Title. Florentine, great job. I've seen you so many times, both live and on Zoom. Hey, and just to let you guys know, every Friday, the South Bay Board does a virtual caravan. So if you have any listings or buyers needs, get their information, get it to them, the listings to them on Thursday. It could be anywhere in the South Bay. It's not just Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach like normal. Get your listings to them, and then you can present them to a whole room, you know, to all the agents that are on there. So it's free advertisement for your listing. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Joanne. Pam, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Pam with First American NHD. Just a quick tip for you. I had a buyer's agent looking with a buyer. They wanted to know if a property was in a flood zone. And she did not know that on your MLS, when you put in the property address, right underneath the address, you have several tabs. And one of those tabs is a flood map. And if you click on that flood map, it'll let you know when you're looking for your buyers if the property's in that A or B flood zone, which will require flood insurance. So a lot of agents I'm finding didn't know that. She didn't know it, and I was able to help her. So I hope that tip helps you. You still need your NHD to do the disclosing, but when looking with buyers, it's a great tool to remember. So thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Appreciate it. Thank you. I think that's all the affiliates. Am I missing anyone? Going once, going twice? All right. That concludes our sales meeting. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate your time. I value your time. And just stay healthy. I'm super excited. As I mentioned, we're going to be opening our office come this Monday, guys. So love to see you guys in here working and just crushing it third quarter, and you know, get to see you guys again. Okay, stay safe, stay healthy and safe, and I'll see you on our next call. Bye bye for now.
Birthday, Simon.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks.